back in Hamilton Dye.
Loving it.
Business in between time, accidental business owner's journey. Episode 5?
5. That's us.
You keeping track, man?
Yeah, I'm keeping track. If you've been following along, you would know that we are accidental business owners. It feels like ages ago that we were accidental business owners. We're like business owners now.
Yeah.
We're still sharpening our axe, which was episode 2, which is doing the stuff behind the scenes to get us to where we still are.
I think we're going to the next
Go and listen to episode 2 to make more sense of that. Stephen cried on episode 3 when we zeroed in on what we really want.
Yep, and what's important.
I returned fire in episode 4, getting a little bit emotional about why you haven't done it already and the stories that you tell yourself that stop you achieving success. Hopefully, we're going to move out of emotion and crying in this episode.
Yeah, before we do, can I ask, like, I wasn't expecting this series to be emotional, but are your sessions full of emotion?
Not necessarily. Some yes, some no. You know, some we're just down to the business.
But in the Di Foster episode, and if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to that on the main Between Two Beers channels.
Yeah, do that.
You spoke about you can't separate business and personal. Was it you or was that someone else?
No, that was definitely me.
Yeah. You can't though, right? You can't have one version of yourself that only shows up to this and one version of yourself that only shows up to that. Or can you?
Well, you can. I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
But I wouldn't think you could in your line of work. I mean, some people definitely do. But I think in this day and age, we think more holistically around, you know, work and home and life. We think more holistically. And certainly that's a driver for me, is to live a more holistic life.
Now, the last episode that we recorded, right at the end, was like Di Foster magic, where you broke down the story that I was telling or the message that I was telling, the words that were coming out of my mouth, filtered it, repackaged it, and spat it out in a different way. That's what you do, right? That's your superpower.
That is what I do.
Okay, so when the working title is The Price You Pay, I'm assuming this isn't this costs you this amount of money and setting the price of your services.
Yeah, we could do that. That's a good episode. But no, it's more the price that you're prepared to pay. You know, in terms of personally, and you know, I mean, if you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So there's always a price in everything that we do.
Yeah, if you're crying on a business podcast,
you're probably paying a price.
You're paying a price, right?
Well, you are. You're letting people in.
Yeah, you're letting people in. All jokes aside.
All jokes aside. You know, there's a price to pay when you're showing vulnerability and emotion.
You love that.
I do. Steve's favourite words to me. I like to shove back to great vulnerability moment. Again.
Go back and listen to the Di Foster podcast on the Between Two Beers channel.
I'm sorry, people.
But they're like, okay, so the price you pay. What does that mean for a business owner? Like, what does that mean for us?
Well, I think the very first thing. Well, let's go back to, you know, when Steve was talking about, you know, his family. You know, he's paying a price at the moment because he's doubling down on the work that he's doing, and that's taking him away from his family, which is the very thing that he wants to go towards. So he is paying a price at the moment because he has a much bigger vision in play, and there's a short-term price.
And when you're in that slog, it's probably hard to see a way out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Is that, probably,
what do you reckon, Steve?
Throw that to you.
No, well, I like that framing, short-term price, because that is certainly how I am thinking of it, is that things have got super busy the last couple of months.
Yeah.
And I expect them to be super busy for maybe till the end of the year. And then my vision is that processes come in place, that there's more, you know, money coming in, that we can sort of outsource a lot of the jobs that I'm currently doing. It's kind of just like a step along this road.
And I think that in this part of the journey, we haven't systemised the business yet. And that is, you know, we're starting down that track, you know, so that we can have systems and structures, because that becomes your very best friend in growing a business.
And is that normal for accidental business owners like us to be really good at something? You've sharpened your axe, you're really good at something, you've zeroed in on what you want, You've got out of the way of yourself.
Yep, and you're doing all of the things.
Yeah, but you've got to streamline. Yeah, and we have been doing a lot of things.
You've been doing all of the things.
Yeah.
Do you remember our first or no? It was about a third or fourth session we had together, and
we've only had 3.
Yeah. Well, I remember it, and I was talking to
Every
you.
episode feels like a session so far, so I feel like we've had 4.
You said to me that you will start to drift from your friends, and you're on this different path, and it may get harder to relate to some people. And I thought, shit, that's interesting, because I had been having some of those thoughts. And the other thing you said, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to burn out. People are going to tell you to stop doing so much, and that's the next step. Just so you know that's coming, and I've just remembered that now.
Well, it's true though, because you've wanted this for so long, and it's happening. So you happily do all the things, and then you go, "Oh shit, I'm doing this because I want a really great life, and that includes my family, and I'm not spending any time with them." And then because your language starts changing, and you're thinking about things differently, you're not just showing up to work and happily taking the paycheck. You're like, how do I generate intergenerational wealth?
Yeah.
Like, there's a topic that I haven't talked about with me mates at the pub before, and so you're actually talking about, how do I actually build that intergenerational wealth? How do I actually have that life that I've always wanted? And you know what? I think that I can do it. And, it's fantastic that we are surrounded by people that give us support, but it is going to be challenging for some of those people that we have. The question was, why haven't you done it before? Well, part of the answer is because everyone else I've been hanging around with is we're just doing all the same thing. But now that you're looking at a different horizon, you start hanging out with different people, and you start using different language, and that is incredibly challenging to the people around us.
And to me, I referenced this in an early episode, but for 12 years I worked for the Herald as a journalist, and in terms of looking forward, if I had an article to write, which I didn't do so much for the last 5 years I was there, it was more once my shift finished, my work finished. And then I wasn't really thinking too far forward about what things might turn into. It was just, that was the life I'd lived for so long.
Yeah.
And so now when I'm thinking forward, I'm thinking a week forward, I'm like, shit, we've got a lot on this week. I'm thinking a month forward, I'm thinking 6 months, I'm 12 months, what it turns into. Like that's a huge shift in a really short period of time.
Yeah. And we need to be doing that because of all the pitfalls that can happen on that journey. So if we're not looking ahead, we've got a problem. So it's that a total shift in who you are and your identity. And one of the things a really great mentor of mine said to me is that if you want the most personal growth, then go into business. Because literally you can't hide. There's nowhere to hide. If you don't make sales, if you don't make this economically viable, it's on you too. That's it. End of conversation. You either show up or you don't. You know what? Nobody else really gives a shit. Nobody else really cares. You're relying on yourselves to turn this around and to do it.
Yeah, I found that really valuable, surrounding yourself with a good team. And I've got 4 people, you're one of them, that I really value their advice.
You've got about 8, man. You have.
Yeah, but there's layers.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's the 4 main ones, and then there's the 4 secondary ones.
Now those 8 people are going to be like, I wonder what list. Am I on the A list or am I on the B list?
But you talked about personal growth, and the quickest way to do that is to be a business owner, because across the last 6 months it's been sales and accounting and contracting and managing people and planning, and the wave of it has been awesome. But if you talk about the price you pay, it's the number of tabs I have open when I finish work, and I'm doing little air quotes here because there's an unlimited stream of things to do.
Yeah.
And I guess the price you pay for me is the part that I'm struggling with, is turning that off.
Yeah.
And being with family and being present.
Yeah.
And turning it back on.
Yeah.
And we spoke about Dave Wood about how to do that in the episode with us. And it's like having a little break or a buffer or exercising or doing something before you go home, which maybe it's an excuse, isn't always possible. If I'm working so much, we need to fix that. But that's the price that I'm paying.
Yeah, and I think, you can run with that for the short term. Like I said before, I've had a really insane couple of weeks, and I know that I can run with that. Is it sustainable? No, it's not. So that's when I step in and go, actually, reset, here we go again. And it's those micro things, like when you own your own business, you never stop working. So it's little things that I try and do to make sure that I'm switching off. And because the thing is that if you stay on all the time, you're going to become very ineffective very quickly. And so switching off and spending time with your family and doing all that stuff is actually helping your work. And that's why we look at things holistically, and it's not just one or the other. But I think, if we roll it back, quite often people are really flippant about what they want. They kind of state the obvious or what they think they should want, where it's like, that's great, but are you prepared to pay the price? So are you prepared to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and, do an hour's worth of work on your side hustle before you go and do your day job? Are you prepared to spend a Sunday recording a podcast with no monetary gain back to you for 4 years? 4 years, people. Are you prepared to do that and pay that price, which is away from your family, earning money in something else, putting yourself out there, having everyone think that they know you really well, when of course they know you because, you're putting yourself out there, but, there's still you, so it's like there's always a price.
I've got a really good example that sprung to mind on that. And it was about 2 years in, I reckon, maybe a year and a half in, and we drove to, where was it, to interview Kevin Fallon. It was
like Manukau
Heads, and it was it took 2.5 hours to get there. I think I had 2 kids at the time. There was a bit of pressure on at home. There's lots to do, and I had to. I did it. It created a bit of tension, but I took the afternoon or the day to drive 2.5 hours to spend 2 hours talking to this guy and coming home, and we had no audience and we were making no money. And it was because we had made a pact that we were going to keep it going. He was a good guest. It was the only time we got him. That comes to mind as, are you prepared to pay the price? How many people would have made that trip?
Yeah.
And also, I look at that and think, if you had have gone out and told all of your friends that you were doing that, how many of them would have said, he's a mug? Those two boys. Exactly. So we've got to be super careful about the voices that we listen to. And it's the same with when things start being successful and things start, moving in the right direction. Again, we need to be really careful for the voices that we listen to. There's that old analogy that we are the sum of the 5 people that we hang around with. So, it's like, man, have a good look at the people that you're letting into your life. And I know, Seamus, I think you said it, one of your resistances in talking to me was, I don't want another one of those voices. Now, I think that I love that. I love that because you're being super precious about who you let into your space.
Whereas I was just a fucking open door. I was like, come on and die.
Well, I would say that you had an intuitively gut feeling that this was going to change your life. Is how I would have reframed it. But, if you want to be an open book, whatever suits you.
Yeah, I think you'd done your due diligence on. You'd gone to some of your trusted people.
On Die?
Yeah.
No.
Dave?
Oh, no.
Dave Wood?
No, he's not on the list. He's not on the list. He's not on either of the lists. Sorry, Dave.
Shit.
So,
off the list, Dave.
So, no, I hadn't. I don't know. The way I operate is I just have people whose judgment I trust. And Dave Wood, in the short amount of time that I have.
He's on the D list.
I have spent with him, I was like, shit, if he's saying that this woman has been transformative for his business and a weapon, and I kind of need that, I'm going to give it a go. Yeah. And then that was all it was. I didn't even communicate with him. I just saw his post, I think, and reached out.
It was just a story.
Yeah. And then we had a 15-minute, 20-minute chat, and I liked you.
Funny, eh?
Yeah. But the price you pay as well comes down to stuff like that, like investing in yourself.
100%.
With getting good people around you in your corner. Like some obviously come for free, but others you've got to put your money where your mouth is to get to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
So how important, I guess, are those? Is there a percentage, or is there anything around we've reinvested? I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, what are you trying to say?
I don't know.
Trying to say, bro.
We've reinvested in our marketing and we've invested in our development as business people. Like that's a price because we could have not done that and been taking home more money.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but we've also got no strategic vision, so it's not like we planned that.
Have we?
No, we don't. We definitely
some
don't.
of us in this room do. Some of us have been working our ass off for 6 months to get you boys in this exact position.
We don't have a strategic
I understand
No one
that
knows what we're doing here.
We don't have a strategic vision.
I understand that you weren't part of that conversation, but
okay. Go back and listen to episode 4 if you want to know why.
exactly. And listen to episode 10 as to what changed.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll keep my hands on that document. Did we pay for that as well?
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say is that sometimes you do actually come across people and, like we had a conversation, like I was going away to Europe for a while and you said to me, it was really important in your business journey because there were a few things happening. And Steve said to me, are you going to be available? And I said, well, not to anybody else. I said, I've got 2 clients that I will take calls from. And, you said, well, how's that going to work? And I said, don't worry about it. I'll just be available for it because, I had a feeling that, this relationship would develop in a unique way, and it has. So I was prepared to pay that price. Where I remember sitting on the Burma bus, that's a cruise in the middle of Greece, chatting to Steve, and thinking that was the best use of my time, and I couldn't have been happier to do it.
We caught up as well. Speaking of opportunity, a price you pay. I think Steve the Stallion was lying next to you, and you had the headphones on, and he'd left his passport or something at a restaurant, but you still made it to be on that phone call.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and like you have a feeling sometimes. Like I do remember the first connection that I had with Steve, and I went, oh wow, because I'd been sharpening my axe in a way to make sure that my skills were really, honed in and useful. And I hadn't done many profile pieces, so I didn't have any clients that were really vocal about me. That's changed. The price we pay. And I knew, I just had this feeling, I was like, and we had a little bit of a chat in that first session. I was like, don't worry about that. Because fundamentally I knew that Steve and I had to have, that session had to bang, and make a significant difference to him for anything else to be important going forward.
Yeah, we because you're not cheap. You're not cheap. And I remember,
I think you should put your prices up. Have you had a conversation about that? Maybe.
And
the price you pay is going to go up.
Total honesty, that first session, I was like, shit, that's a lot of money. But she must be really good.
I wonder if the business can pay.
But I was like, I don't know if we can afford this. But I was like, fuck, she must be really good if she's charging that much. And then I think we had a bunch that we paid full price on. And then I remember the phone call, and I was like, Di, like I love working with you, but we've got a bit of a cash flow situation. We can't, we're just not at a place where we can afford. You're like, yep, I've been waiting for this conversation. Let's talk. Let's talk. Yep. And in that first interaction we had with you, I said, trying to deflect from my stuff probably, that you would make a great Loki legend one day. I'd love to have you on. You're like, right, we'll talk about that later. That's definitely going to happen, but we'll talk about that later. And you're like, well, let's come to an agreement. It works for both of us. And I knew what that would do and has done for your business. Like I didn't let you know the full extent of what it would do. I sort of teased it that it was coming, and I knew that it was a good deal. I didn't feel that you working for free for us on your holiday and going over contracts for our speaking business and this, I didn't feel bad about that because I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming back.
And I did too. Like I knew. Also, like this time last year, I put it out there that I wanted 2 clients that I could work in a different way with. Like, so I have my coaching business, and I'm very clear about what that looks like for clients, but I wanted two businesses that I could work in their business and be really integral to their growth. And I didn't know who that was going to be, and I didn't have a list. I didn't do any of that. I just knew that it would turn up. And, December last year, it showed up when we started communicating. So I had full trust that that was going to happen, and you guys just happened to be the right, the right fit for what has turned out in this situation.
Yeah, it's been cool. It's, I guess if I'm trying to link it back to the price you pay, it's the support that you put around yourself when you're paying the price.
Yeah.
For me, that's Bon, who is, she's doing all the work. She is covering our asses to help make this work. I know Shay's got the same situation. You are at a different level, but it's like the importance of helping someone who's on that same road with you soften that.
Well, I think, you always, it's a lonely ride if you're just on your own. Like if I look at my own personal situation, I remember saying to my husband, when we had our son, I said, thank you so much for financially supporting us. And he very calmly said, thank you so much for not spending all our money. And he was actually, because can be pretty frugal, and it was like I took it real seriously. I'm better at, growing assets in a different way. So I did that at that time, and invested in some stuff that's paid off, so it's like, it's just, and he's my biggest cheerleader, even though he has no idea what I do. Absolutely none. Like zero. No understanding whatsoever. But he's my hugest cheerleader. Like he just loves, just cheerleads the shit out of what we do. And it's having those people around us that even if they don't understand everything about it, that they're happy to support us when we're paying that price. When we're not at home, when we're not doing, things. And we're all different. I paid a price to be there for my family while my son was really young. And I remember saying to the boys, and when I say the boys, it's my husband and my son, when we were in Europe, I said to them, have I done a good job? Just checking in, and they're like, you're amazing. I milked it for at least 5 minutes. And I said, good, because I've given you 12 years and that shit's now over. And again, that's just a different age, stage and phase that I'm going into. Of course, I'll always be there for my son, but I've taken the handbrake off my own business and I'm prepared now to pay the price for what it is that I want to gift the world. I'm prepared to take the handbrake off and I'm prepared to jump on a plane. I'm prepared to, wake up at 5 a.m. and say, hey boys, you're all organised, I'm out of here. We're really lucky that because of COVID, my husband has ended up working from home 3 days a week. So that has totally freed up and made things different for us. But I'm prepared to pay the price now. I'm so 100% in it because it's the right age, stage and phase.
And do you know if it's a short-term price that you're going to pay? Like, have you got a time frame on I'm all in for this amount? Like to throw back to a few episodes ago, you talk about like the 10,000 days, right? Where you want to be in 27 years. Like,
yeah.
Do you take the price that you pay based on that long-term vision?
Yeah. So when I say the price that I pay, I know exactly where I'm going, and I know that there's pieces of my business that were missing, like a profile piece, and that has changed in the last couple of weeks, or that's, changed because of the things that we've done together. So I'm prepared to pay the price, but it's because I know where I'm going to go. So that price is worth paying to me. Do you know, so when I say, are you prepared to pay the price? It's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just that I'm prepared to do the work because I'm prepared to do it because I friggin' love it. I'm bloody good at it. And apparently the world needs it. Like it's that perfect synergy. So paying the price isn't always like a negative thing. It's just that sometimes it does feel like a big price.
And I think for us, that's a little bit where we are now in terms of what we say yes to and what we say no to.
Yes.
And it's the trade-off between, we probably were in a phase where we would say yes to everything and we would like do everything, and we would, we had about 16 income streams at one point until you came into our life and went, no, just zero in on these.
Yeah.
And I think we're now at a stage where, opportunities are coming to us.
Yep.
And our natural instinct is probably to go, yep, we'll do that. But it's actually, and this is in my personal life as well, I've realized I'm at a stage where I'm having to really assess and understand what the price is positively and negatively for saying yes to that thing. Because I think you said at the top of this episode, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Absolutely. And it was no different, with me, because I was always saying yes to everyone. If they wanted coaching, yep. When now it's like I'm really specific in who I coach. Like I think I've said before, I did have an entire book of, terminally ill cancer clients. And I was like, oh, that's not where I want to be. And it's like, so then I still said yes to them. While I was building the other part of the business, and now I've built out that so much, actually, I will have one session with them because that's when I know I make the most change for them.
Yeah.
I don't make change long-term for them. I shift them really quickly in one session, and so I'll quietly do that, but I don't advertise it. They've got to have gone out of their way to find me, seek me, and connect with me. So they're qualified. So they're so ready for change. If they've done all of that, it's, so it works both ways.
Like terminal patients aren't your people. It's podcast business owners from Hamilton around 40. Those are your real people.
I have people now ringing me saying, I'm your ideal client. And I'm like, oh, really? How is that? Yeah, I'm 40 and I'm just at that point where I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. It's interesting, the dynamic, the demo of your clients, because it's mostly male around that age, right?
Yeah, 3/4 of my clients are 40-year-old men.
Yeah,
and
it's weird. It's weird.
It's funny, and 1/4 of my clients are 50-year-old women. It's really interesting.
Interesting segments.
Yeah, it is.
Those are your people.
They are my people.
Right, that's. I think we're good. Shay, you want to?
Yeah, well, hopefully there's more of your people tuning in. This is episode 5. If you haven't already, go back to our channel, listen to the other episodes. Catch us on YouTube. More of Di Foster at difoster.com. LinkedIn's your best platform.
Yep, I think so.
We'll see you there, and we'll see you again for the next episode of our accidental business journey on Business in Between.